Okay, hello everyone, once again. As it was said, my name is Justyna Janik and I came from Jagiellona University in Krakow. And I am a PhD student at Institute of Audiovisual Arts. And today I'm going to talk about ghosts and the past and in fact mainly their function in a video game environment. And I start through the images of the ghosts in the media. Because in fact, the images of the ghosts are strictly connected with the development of communication technology. And since the invention of the Morse code, people tries to prove that existence of the another plane, and existence of the another plane of the existence, right? They try to record strange whispers of the spirits or capture their image on the photographs. And when we think about this desire to catch the unexplained, it won't become as a surprise that there's a lot of ghost story in the popular culture, and not only popular culture but culture at all. However, it seems to be a little that case that the present. However, it seems to be that the presence of the the presence of the ghost in the video game medium, in fact, is something more than just a ghost story or just a narrative trope. So, when we think about the ghosts, we think about the memory, that they are in fact the imprints of the memory, and they are more associated with the private emotion than the facts, because as we know from Rashomon, the ghost can lie, and in fact all of the ghosts generate the feeling of the uncanny in the Freudian sense of this notion, in fact, this feeling of the uncanny could be seen also in Derrida's spectre, as for Derrida, all spectre are in fact uncanny because of their uncertain ontological status, because they are neither being or non-being. They're not exactly alive and not exactly dead. So, thanks to that, this unstable state of being non-being, they have ability to impersonating everything they want. So in this context, we can this context of uncertain status, we can make an assumption that all of the ghosts that appears in the video game are just the Derrida spectre. Because on the software level, they have similar properties as the other objects. They can be found in the space of the video game. Like, for example, this is a screenshot from Hitman: The Contract, and there's a glitch in the game that we can use and kill that ghost. So, as we can see, it has the same property as any other enemies in the game. But on the semantic level of the story world, they are in fact non-existent spirits or haunted souls or just protagonist hallucination. Moreover, we can analyze the ghosts in the video games as any other ghostly character in any other text of the culture. We can see that. So we can call it, in fact, some kind of double spectral structure for the ghost in the video game environment. Which brings us to Derrida's concept of hauntology, in which the specters of the past have returned and haunt the present. So from the hauntology, we can say that in the short term it means that long gone ideas just invoke the concept of the past, but those concepts are, haunted the present time and influence the, future decisions. So, hauntology seems to be a very popular concept recently, and it also is the case in the case of video games. So, for example, Christian Macria used this to describe how old media haunts the video game environment. For example, it's especially a case in horror games. For example, in Resident Evil, we can see part of the gameplay through the CCTV camera. So this is this mechanism that he described in his article. But I think when we focus more on the reconnecting this idea to the idea of hauntology, the notion of the past, it would emerge as a phenomenon that indicates the absence of the past in the video game world. That the absence of the past that still haunts the present and impacts the gameplay. So when we think about the past in the video games, we can distinguish at least two kinds of this. For example, it is the past of the story world, and it's for my understanding is just a substitute of the real notion of the past in the video game medium, and its mainly function is just to make the game world more complex, and the players can learn about the past from others characters through the exploration of the video game environment, or just read it in a library like that database. But the other kind of the past, which I think is closer to traditional, or I do not know if I can say it, real notion of the past. It's the past past of the video game environment, and it's associated mostly with the human present in the video game environment, and it's all the players' action, like for example, leaves the footprints, the blood stains, like it's for example the case in Dark Souls 2, or even the Easter eggs that designers left in the game environment. And now I want to show how those two types of past interfere with each other, sometimes even outside the players' outside the player even realize that it's happening. And I want to analyze this to mostly the second kind of past through the interpretation of ghosts in the video games. And there's a lot of examples of ghost appearance in video games, but I will focus on 3 cases. The first one is more connected to the interpretation of the video games. I talking here about the Dear Esther, when we can encounter a lot of ghostly figures through our game experience, and in fact they are appear out of nowhere and vanish in the thin air, and it is not certain what they are. However, most of the interpretation recognize them as the departed soul of the long gone islanders, or just recording of the past that took place before players' arrival in the game environment. But all of the interpretation are connected into that shadow figures are nothing less than the prints of a dead body or the memory of someone that lived once or just existed in this world. The interesting thing in this topic is that that ghosts are in fact some of the unnamed characters from the Half-Life the second, the Half-Life 2. And because, DST started as a free-to-play modification for Source game engine. So it's, in fact, some other example of Derrida's Spectre. But sometimes those transparent figures are more than just a shadow or, just the memory. Like, for example, in the game Braid, where in one of the level, Time and Dimension, the shadow of the player appears when the player rewinds time, and for a short moment, both avatars, past and present, are working together to solve the puzzle. So this ghostly figure are more connected to the trace in a sense of recur, because they also we are not only a proof visible proof of something existence, but also the past activities. So there's very important thing that these imprints indicates have the same abilities, have the same power as a player has. And this example also shows that video game it's something more just program when we can where the player can that player can explore it, and it's more like bio object as maybe I just talk a little bit about it. So the idea of bio object was created by Polish theater director Tadeusz Kantor. And in this way, Kantor tried to describe the extraordinary relation between actor and stage object. So, long story short, in fact, in the moment of play, the actor and the stage object became one. And I think it's the same case in the video game. And for me, in the moment of the gameplay, the video game and the player become qualitatively new, unbreakable unity. So, and there is really, maybe we do not. There was a discussion yesterday if what game do when the players is not around. So I think maybe there is a lot of answer to that question, but I think in the moment of gameplay they are something new. Is being created. So I think the games like Braid shows us that there are visible examples that the game and the player are some kind of bio object. The last example I want to show to you is a ghost as a memory. Okay. And as in the case of BioShock, sometimes when the ghostly figure appears, they create illusion of the historicity of the game world, and by that they extend sense of the completeness of the world, that the world is complex. But it's not only a part of narration, but in fact also have a lot of, well, it also is one of the gameplay function. Because we can say that the ghosts that appear in the video game environment is in fact somehow a lighthouse which guide us through the level of the video game and shows us that we are in fact going to the right direction. It's not only influence our decision and show us about teach us about past, but also show us that we are heading the right way. So as the examples above, especially the last one, show particularly well the problem of the past and the true meaning. If it's one last thing left, it's worth mentioning in this context is that the shape of the ghost, in fact, because all of the ghosts are in fact human-like figures. Maybe, or if not human-like figures, they have some signs of the human behavior. So they can speak, they can have plans, they can show the whole spectrum of emotion, and so on and so on. So human form is important because through the process of anthropomorphization, the non-human agent becomes the medium of the human image, by extension and explicitly embodies a man. So anthropomorphism in a context is as a complex phenomenon, consisting of both cognitive and motivational determinants, is also often used by people in various situations, especially when they try to cope with the surrounding reality. It is frequently employed also in a game situation when the player wants to effectively interact with the virtual environment. And as you play worlds, and I'm sorry, I do not know how to read the last name, suggests that attributing human characteristic and motivation to non-human agents increases the ability of make sense of an agent's action, reduces to uncertainty associated with an agent, and increases confidence in production of this agent in the future. So in fact, player learns the game mechanism quicker when they anthropomorphize the game software. Also by this mechanism of the multiplying self-present, as it was the case in the Braid, for example, it helps player to tame the game, so to make the game more familiar and safer place to just play. And to sum up my presentation, the last few words. The anthropomorphized traces of the past, and even if they have a different function of origin, as I show it in those games I try to analyze shortly, leads to the same conclusion. By the inherence of the human-like figures, a player multiplies self-present in a virtual environment, and thanks to that, overcomes the medium of the video game. These strategies help to cover the gameplay mechanism and makes them invisible to the player. In fact, we are dealing with the same process as in the case of experiencing art. For example, paintings. The presence of the trace of the past animates the world of the game inside the user, and for a few moments, they are able to forget that this reality is mediated. In other words, a video game, by putting on the mask of the ghost, creates the past events and camouflage the medium of the game. The presence of the ghosts, paradoxically, indicates the absence of the past of the video game world, the first kind. Even the traces of the player's action designate also the past, understood as previous gameplays is bygone. So even if we have a traces of the past, in fact, they are, just show us that they are not longer a present experience. Therefore, we should remember that where we are playing, for example, Assassin's Creed, and we are encounter the moment when Ezio meets Altair, Ghost of the Altair, in fact. This is the moment of the pure act of communication between the game and the player. And in fact, this is the moment when two bio-objects interact with each other. The bio-object of us, a player, that we make with the video game at the present, and the bio-object of the designer that leads our way through the final destination. Okay, so thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Justyna. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you for your talk. I was just wondering, did you consciously select games that are somewhat similar? Because, I mean, you talked about computer games as if that case of anthropomorphic ghosts was the only one where they are basically tokens and signifiers of something else. And I immediately thought of two other extreme cases, if you will. On the one hand, non-anthropomorphic ghosts, like ghost cars in racing games, where you can basically see your own performance in an earlier iteration of the race, basically perform as a ghostly presence, which would be a challenge to what you presented. And on the other hand, games like the first-person shooter series Fear, where ghosts appear as something materially fightable, where they are basically just, you know, token enemies that can be mowed down. And I was just wondering if those extreme cases would just fall outside of what you're describing, or if they could actually be part of your system.
Okay, the first example about the ghost car, in fact, for me, it fits perfectly because our past, you know, races, or the record of the races, in fact, it's our imprints in the video game. So it's our bio-object, but the past bio-object. So when we imprint ourselves in the video game, we somehow anthropomorphize it. It's my hypothesis, so I don't know if you agree with me, but I think the ghost cars are a nice example of that, which is not very, you know, strictly anthropomorphic because they are cars. And the other one I excluded on purpose because for me are more like it's more like, you know, ghost stories. So I try to search for examples that are not more about the function and about, you know, the more hiding the meaning, not, you know, just give it to you in the form of the plot or the, you know, the word or story word. So I exclude Fear on purpose.
Thank you.
Yeah, also thank you for the inspiring talk and topic. There were two ideas coming to my mind. I'd like to ask you what you think of them. The one is that since you can never play in the past or in the future when playing a game, you can only play now. Ghosts are some kind of iconic narrative way of trying to work around this problem.
Yes, so, exactly. Yeah? It was, I know I wasn't clear enough probably in my presentation, but in fact, it's that the mask that, you know, game designer puts on the game that cover the fact that past, present, and future tends to be, you know, simultaneously developed. So the players, you know, enter the game, and in the same moment they learn about the past. But it is in the moment of the present, and it's influenced the future almost immediately. Yeah.
Okay. And the other idea or question maybe is, and sorry for that because it's also some kind of why didn't you talk about that? You talked about this, but you started with Kittler and Kittler using Derrida's idea of the trace being the hunted structure. And Kittler always used the Lacanian triad of symbolic, real, and imaginary. And he would say, okay, the film is imaginary, the writing is symbolic, and the audio or the gramophone is the real. Because the real is the one that always vanishes. We can never grasp it. It's always, it's this trace structure. So we could say from the structure of the medium, the ghost actually would be on the audio side and not on the imaginary side, because as an image, it's structurally not a ghost.
Yes. Okay, I think I must agree. Okay.
Yes,
but I have to squeeze into 20 minutes, so it was just an introduction.
Thank you very much, Justyna.